What's up, college football fans? Noe Valenta here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by our good friend CJ over at Fifth Quarter SMU, and we're going to get into all things SMU related with their 22 signing class and kind of life after Dykes and stuff like that. But before we get into all of that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football recruiting, the G5 football, world transfer portal, coaching carousel, any or all of the above, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that is truly all that we talk about. All right, CJ, I appreciate you jumping on. I know you got a million things going on, working on your doctorate for all I know at this point. You're always leveling up in your education plan. But, how are things going? And, what are your initial thoughts about this signing class before we jump in?
Yeah, well, personally, just working on the Juris Doctorate, I guess is a better way to put it. Working on law school. Well, working on getting responses for law school because I applied, going to start next fall. So I'm excited about that. And then just this class, I think for a little bit there, it looked like with Dykes, it looks like we were going to be putting together a class that was going to be a lot of star power. I think there was a lot of sizzle to it. And it was going to be a quality class. I'm not going to, try to make it seem like it was completely glamour. It was also a solid set of guys. But then, that changed. But all things considered, and just in general, I think this is a very strong class. I think that there's a lot of solid pieces. And I think that looking at the ranking, let me see, where are we? We're 80th. And I think that's really deceiving because that's largely based on quantity as well. But if you look at like the average rating, like it's on par with previous years. So I'm very excited about this 22 class.
Yes. So obviously, like the average rating is essentially right on par with last year. I think it's a little higher if I want to get super technical. Your ranking in the AAC has dropped. Currently is 3 spots lower. You're currently ranked 6. Last year was 3. However, do you happen to know, are they factoring on 24/7 Sports? Are they factoring in transfers yet in the rating? I know for a while they weren't, but I don't know because of everything's changing.
No, they have like a total rating, but that's not what comes up when you look at the football commits. And going back to the point about our ranking in the AAC, we took 6 more guys last year than we did this year, even though the average rating is the same. And the average rating in the AAC, I don't think changed a whole lot. So that's really where the quantity comes into play. Is a difference of 6 guys can be the difference between the median class and a top 25 percentile class in the conference.
Okay. And do you happen to know, do you guys have any scholarships left for this class, or is it done? 5 more. Wow.
And if you ask an SMU fan, they'll say 4 because they're already counting on one being Kamar Wheaton. They don't have 5 scholarship spots. They have 4 scholarship spots and a spot if Kamar Wheaton wants to go to SMU.
When will Kamar make his decision? Any idea?
No, my understanding is that, he's taking his time. He's going through the process. And I think as SMU fans, I think we owe it to him to not rush his decision. I think it's presumptive to assume he's going to go there. So I'm doing no such thing. But I do know that that's like one spot that no matter who jumps in the portal, like you could have 4 or 5 stars jump in the portal. Or sorry, you could have 5 more 5 stars jump in the portal. We would only take 4 of them because we are saving that spot if he wants to.
Right.
Assuming we're saving that spot.
For sure. You can't help but think TCU is going to have to make a hard push with Coach Samples, though, right? I mean.
Yeah, I would imagine they will. My understanding is that they kind of they're going to make a pitch because who wouldn't? But I think they're from what I've been told personally, it sounds like they kind of assume he's going here as well.
Well, that would suck for North Texas fans like myself, but be very good for you guys potentially if he injured he ACL, right? Didn't he? Yeah. So obviously, I think with the doctors today, people coming back from ACL is more common. However, nonetheless, that's hard to come back from a running back. Oscar Adaway, I think, is the same thing, and fingers crossed he comes back to, really close to full form because he'll be really special if so. But yeah, so we'll see. Could be potentially very dangerous though. Kamar Wheaton in the AAC, that would, that could be something crazy for sure. So jumping into this 22 class, starting with the defensive side of the ball first, we'll start off with Pierre Gore out of Duncanville. And safety, and just kind of want to put a disclaimer, up when I talk about redshirting. I think redshirting is great. I think it's nothing but benefits the student athlete if they, get the opportunity to redshirt. So when I say dodging redshirts, that's never a knock on redshirting. I really do think it's great. However, I'll ask this question, about each recruit, if you think they'll redshirt or not per se, or just some of them. But so, what are your thoughts on Gore coming out of Duncanville? A Dallas, kind of a powerhouse. In the last couple of years here, and and obviously the pipeline was pretty good with Coach Samples, but it looks like it's staying at least somewhat good even without him. But what are your thoughts on Gore? And do you think he's one that can maybe dodge the red shirt as a true freshman?
When I think of Pierre Gore, I think of him as like
Gore, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. His measurables are really good. He's really raw. So I think he would be somebody that would benefit from a red shirt. And then, because we do have, like, everybody points out that like our secondary was bad last year. I think they're going to be so much better this year in a new system. I think that the scheme just wasn't right. Like, we just weren't a one high cover zero team, but we kept trotting that out there on a weekly basis, and it was really tough. I think that there are a lot of guys that can play safety that would allow for Gore to take a red shirt if that was, if he comes to camp and he's just, not ready to play at our level. But I still, like, his tape's pretty good for somebody that, like, the first word you hear is usually potential or raw. Like, he's got really good tape for somebody with that being their first word coming from such a big level of Texas football. So I'm excited about Gore. He's one of my favorite guys in this class, obviously. So yeah, I definitely like him. I would say right now, like, the odds of him taking a red shirt, I would say it's probably like 70 to 80% that he takes a red shirt. But he's somebody that by the time it's all said and done at SMU, I think we look at him as like one of the better defensive players we've had in a while, because he's what, like the fifth, or where is he? He's up there as like one of the highest rated recruits of all time. He's 14th. So yeah.
Yeah, and 14th, at SMU currently, unfortunately, I mean, that's pretty high. I mean, you guys have been pulling in some really big recruits. So yeah, definitely. And we don't have to go through this whole offer list, but Arkansas, Cincinnati, and the list is long, the people that wanted his services. So huge pickup for a G5 school. There's no way to sugarcoat that. All right, moving down to Dylan Frazier coming out of McKinney North, defensive line. So kind of another question. You think this, high pickup once again, and probably 15th if I had to guess off of what he's ranked. He's right behind Gore. So do you think he dodges the red shirt? What are your thoughts with Frazier?
Him, I'm not so sure about, because I think, based on my understanding, I think he's somebody that projects to put on a few pounds and then play on the inside. Right now he's listed at 250. I think if he could get up to like 270 and then play like almost as like, I'm pretty sure Scott Simon's our new defensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure he runs 4 down. So if we could run him as like in that like 3 tech type role, I think that would be the type of guy we would want. And so for that, I think we would want him more in like the 270 range. So he might need just a year just to put on muscle mass. But far be it for me to talk about somebody putting on muscle mass. Realistically speaking, he's somebody I could see rotating in a good bit, at least in 4 games that are blowouts. You think of the Lamars, some combination of, the bottom teams in our conference, North Texas, those type of games, maybe he rotates in. I just had to give it to you.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the comments to have an opinion on that one. But no, I think he's somebody that could factor in a little bit as a rotational piece as a freshman. But again, he's somebody that his tape really stands out. He's really great in pursuit. He moves his feet really well for somebody at 6'5", 250. He's somebody that I think is the type of guy that if we wanted to, we could play him more, not outside, but more as like a defensive end. Like, I think he could do that. But right now, I think he most projects towards inside. And right now, inside, we're at least 1.5 or 2 deep. So I think he might redshirt just like from a depth standpoint, because we have a couple of older guys at that position. So yeah, I would say another guy that very well could redshirt. I think a lot of these guys are probably going to redshirt because right now, like, we're close to the 85 number, but a bunch of super seniors are going to, obviously a bunch left this year, but a bunch of guys that are still taking that extra eligibility, I think in the next year or so are going to fall off. And so I think redshirting might not be the worst idea for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, not going to name them all, but had offers from Arkansas, Baylor, and a very long list as well. So another
He's
real,
impressive.
yeah, very much so. Another really great pickup for another, for a G5 school. All right, so Isaiah Smith, first one out of the Metroplex, coming out of Washington D.C., an edge rusher, and yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on him? I mean, just kind of, I mean, I just kind of it's a far away from home for him
Mhm.
and for you guys. So, I mean, I'm sure I would think you guys could have picked up a similar rated edge rusher closer to home. But what are your thoughts on Smith?
So actually, Smith was somebody that. So I have the inside scoop on this one as well. So Smith was somebody that uh, reached out to SMU and was like, "Hey, I would like to potentially, come play for y'all."
Hmm.
And we need to see him in person first. And so
Hmm.
he flew down for a camp over the summer. And
Was it that mega
yeah,
camp you guys had?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
It might have been a separate camp. But we offered him after that because we were like, the tape is there, but we need to see him in person. Saw him in person. We're like, yep, you have an offer, committable today.
Yeah.
Well, all offers from us are committable, so long as we have room at the position. But so yeah, so Isaiah Smith was somebody that we took right away, and I was impressed with this current staff being able to keep him, um, just because he was somebody of the guys listed. I think he was one of the first commits from this class. I mean, it was either him, Rhett Larson, or Jacob Waller, but I think it might have been him that was the first commit from this class that stuck through. So yeah, he's somebody that I'm excited about. He's kind of a relative unknown because he's not from the Dallas area, so it's not like I
Hmm.
see on my timeline like his stat line. But he's somebody I know that is really quick. He's somebody that I think we're a few years from now is going to be putting up 8 to 10 sack seasons just because he's so fast. He's going to be a pass rushing specialist, I think.
Yeah, also held offers from Arizona State, Colorado, and there's another one I'm blanking, but had a long list. A lot of Pac-12s are trying to get in on him, and as well as the ACC schools. So yeah, definitely another good pickup for sure. All right, kind of coming back home with Anthony Davis out of Skyline, Dallas, Texas, cornerback. What's your thoughts on Davis?
Yeah, so the former Kansas commit, he's somebody that he had a bit of a fun commitment announcement at the school on signing day, popping balloons. He put on a Louisville hat, which he visited Louisville like 2 days before. And there was kind of talk of like, should we be worried about that? And some people were like, nah, let him take his visits. And then some were like, yeah, but it kind of went pretty well. So when he put on the Louisville hat, we were like, oh no. And so
Yeah,
then like he was walking and he kind of gave like the hold on, like because everybody was cheering. And then he, threw the Louisville hat and grabbed the SMU hat after walking across a basketball court. That was a long 15, 20 seconds. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about him. From what I've been told from my sources, he kind of fits more as like a Nickelback type.
hmm
And so that's Nickelback as a band gets a lot of hate. I think that uh, much like Nickelback, I think I'm going to appreciate this pickup for us. And so I'm pretty excited about what he's going to do for the secondary long term because I know that as teams throw the ball a bunch more, I think you're going to see the nickelback be a position that gets recruited as like a separate position, and I think that Anthony Davis kind of fits that mold. A little small at 5'10" and a half. That's the type of thing where you have to wonder like you can't teach height, but
hmm
at the same time like his tape's pretty good even against tall receivers. So like I'm excited about this pickup.
yeah. Yeah, and big personality, with his commitment stuff and all that, and obviously was committed to Kansas, had the Baylor offer, and a few Louisville had a long list of Power Five. So another good pickup for sure. All right, so Trey Fight Tatum out of Tatum, Texas, another edge rusher, 6'5", 210, a lot like Smith coming out of Washington D.C. So, what's your thoughts on Fight? I mean, kind of, you think him and Smith are going to kind of come in and you know, kind of put on maybe, 30, 40 pounds and kind of be ready to go here in about 2 years? Or, what's your thoughts there?
Well, I'm not going to go making either edge rusher go put on 20 or 30 pounds. If they're 210 and they move quick, if they can get to the quarterback, I don't really care what their weight is.
Hmm.
I know that, obviously if they could put on muscle, that's always good
Hmm.
because, if they're quick and can put on muscle and maintain that speed, like they should, um, or at least if they can, they should. But Trey Fight's one of the ones, like when I look at this class, he's one of the people I know the relatively least about.
Mhm.
But I do know he was committed to Louisiana. I trust Billy Napier's ability and his ability to hire staff and that staff's ability. So I feel good about it just from just purely somebody that I respect said he was good. So I'm going to take him as
Mhm.
potentially good. That's the extent of what I know about Trey Fight. I'm not going to, pretend to know
Mhm.
more, but
Yeah.
he's somebody that I think is going to redshirt. I don't know what his future holds. I don't know what his timetable is, but he's somebody that from the one, 5-minute huddle clip I saw, I went, yeah, this guy, I like that he's on my team. So once again, excited.
Yep, very cool. I think they're gonna put some weight on him though, both of them. I mean, 210, I mean, if as fast as you are, if a tackle gets a hand on you at 210, it's over. I mean, but 230, that's a little different.
Hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, definitely the frame's there to put on if they, if they see fitting, and I think they could move around just fine at 230, 240 and be really effective. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Definitely exciting pickups for sure. All right. So next, Ahmad Moses coming out of Mansfield Summit, safety. And I know we're staying on the defensive side of the ball first, but man, this is really out of high school anyway, a very defensive focused class.
Hmm.
So, what's your thoughts on Moses?
So Moses, I think he's really good in pursuit. He's really quick. He's got like he's got a quick awareness to him that I think will play well at the safety position. He's very instinctual, I guess is a good way to put it. I liked what I saw. Like he's pretty explosive at that position, and he's a solid tackler, which is always like an underrated aspect of defensive backs, especially coming out of high school. Sometimes when they're super fast and and they can hit hard with the shoulder, they don't always tackle well. But he tackles pretty well. So I'm excited about him. He originally committed to UTSA and then on signing day flipped to SMU. Shout out Jared.
Yeah.
That was a pickup that I wasn't even aware was like in the works, and then very late I was tipped off that like, hey, this might be a thing, and then I started seeing it on the message boards, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a thing. And then when it happened, it was very exciting. So yeah, excited about Moses.
Yeah. All right. Next, staying in the defensive back realm, Jaden Lawton coming out of Lucas, Texas, Lovejoy High School. Pretty good little program down there at Lovejoy. 6'2", 175. Back in the day, corners were, 5'10", 5'11", maybe 5'9". Obviously, now in this newer age, we're seeing a lot more lengthier cornerbacks that can still, move with these receivers. And he seems to fit that kind of mold. It's a lot of body there. So what are your thoughts with Lawton?
Hey, can't teach height. I mean, he's somebody that his tape is another one that's pretty raw. He has pretty good ball skills, which is at 6'2" a very valuable asset. Um,
Mhm.
some things that just on the baseline, like he could benefit from a bunch of practice against FBS level receivers. Just in terms of like coverage, like I think that's something that over time, like you really gain experience with. So he's somebody that like again, I'm just gonna say it for every guy, just as
Mhm.
a blanket statement now. Like I'm excited about him because I think his potential is really high as a coverage corner.
Mhm.
Because the ball skills are there, the height is there, the range is there. So just as long as the staff can develop him the way that I trust the staff can, he's going to be somebody that I think is going to be a valuable asset for us down the line.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, moving things over to the offensive side of the ball as far as the high school signees go, with RJ Maryland, tight end out of South Lake Carroll, highest rated recruit in the class right now, and the only 4-star, which is, I mean, really impressive to pull a 4-star for a G5 school anytime. And yeah, this guy, I mean, this is exciting. I don't know what his stats were last year. I don't know if you happen
Good.
to. They were good. So
I
they
don't
were
know off the
good.
top of my head. I just know that they're good.
Yeah, they were. I'm sure they were. And I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Not the biggest thing in the world, but actually, I have them up here. So 2020, 30 receptions for 736 yards, 13 touchdowns with Quinn Ewers. Obviously, Quinn makes a last-second departure, so he's got to play with a new quarterback who may not, whatever. His receptions over doubled with 62, 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. So probably a pretty big. I don't know his name. I mean, I'm the quarterback for South Lake this past year. but I would assume he was probably a pretty good
Mhm.
safety blanket for a guy stepping in unexpectedly. And yeah, I mean, I would say there's probably a lot of anticipation, rightfully so, for Maryland. And what are your thoughts on him? And I mean, kind of more than any, I mean, you think he's going to redshirt? Or do you think he's going to see the field, more than 4 games his freshman year?
I mean, we're so deep at tight end right now.
Hmm.
So Grant Calcaterra graduated, but we've still got. I mean, we brought in as a transfer. We brought in Cam Allen,
Hmm.
and we've also got so many other guys in that room. I mean, we got Nolan Matthews Harris. You got Simon Gonzalez. You got Ben Redding. I mean, we've got guys.
Yeah.
So that's one of those where it's like he also could play receiver at 6'3", 205.
Hmm.
He's somebody that I think as we kind of transition to a four wide meta in football offensively, he's somebody that and I know I don't like it when people, when they give player comps and they just choose the best player ever.
Yeah, for
And they're
sure.
like, oh, he can shoot like Kobe and he's got the handles of
Yeah, he's
Chris
Gronk,
Paul.
or
And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
come on, you're just describing the best basketball player ever. But I think he can have a Travis Kelce role in our offense. I don't want to
Hmm.
go making any promises that he's going to put up that production, just that his body size can fit that type of mold potentially. Or like how Kylan Granson fit in our offense. Like he's somebody that I think can kind of play that mixture of H-back, tight end, slot receiver when you need him. Like he's not really an X, Y, or Z. He's a K, which is
Hmm.
this new position that's been created named after Travis Kelce. That's kind of where he fits. So he could play right away. He's another one that I think his playing is going to depend on injuries in front of him. If it looks like depth starts to fall off, then maybe they go. He could play because before any depth falls off, they might say, well, we could play him 10 snaps a game or 5 snaps a game just as a depth piece, or we could save him for that extra year and really let him develop, or we could, if a guy goes down, we could say, okay, well, now let's give him a bigger role. Let's, burn that red shirt at least for this year and let's, let him play. He's the person I think is most likely to play right away.
Hmm.
So I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do with him. But again, somebody I'm really excited about, one of 4 offensive commits we took this class. So we kept our offensive commits very picky. I know we targeted heavily one other offensive guy that ended up going to Oklahoma State, but you know,
Hmm.
that's RJ Maryland is the guy I'm most excited about. He's the guy that I think long term is going to put up some big numbers for us.
Yeah.
But right away, I don't know. I mean, we're really deep at that position, but who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I was gonna say I think he might dodge his red shirt, but we'll see. So,
I do too. For what it's worth, I think he doesn't redshirt, but I think it's 35 to 40% that he does take a red shirt. But
mm,
I think more likely than not, he doesn't take a red shirt.
yeah, and I'm surprised Dykes didn't try to pull him over to TCU. Honestly, yeah, I mean, I never saw a reported offer from that, but who knows? Who knows what happens behind closed doors? But
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
the old staff was on him, but not that seriously. But this new staff has been on him the entire time. He was between SMU and Miami, which was funny because
yeah,
his Miami interest all came from this current staff,
yeah,
mainly Rhett Lashley. So
yeah,
that was what was pretty funny about it.
yeah. All right, moving down a little bit to Jacob Waller, offensive tackle out of Arlington, Texas, and yeah, thoughts on Waller?
So I'm going to actually combine our 2 offensive
Okay,
linemen to kind of
good,
to
good
move us
call.
along. So Jacob Waller and Rhett Larson, both originally pursued by AJ Ricker, former offensive line coach now at TCU, and he's another one. They're both another example of I'm going to trust those people's judgment. I mean, I don't really know what to look for in offensive linemen. I'll be the
Hmm.
first to admit. But I didn't see any obvious red flags that somebody I think I'm somewhere between a casual fan and a professional scout. But there were no obvious red flags that I noticed in what I
Yeah.
saw. And uh, Coach Ricker has done a pretty good job in the past of identifying, quote unquote diamonds in the rough that were ready to play pretty quickly and were much better than their star rating would dictate. I mean, Jalen
Hmm.
Thomas was all conference, a couple years in, and he was not poorly rated, but he was like a 0.85 something on the composite, not somebody you expect to start right away and be all conference by, a true sophomore. Marcus Bryant also was like a 0.83. He started this past year as a true sophomore, or redshirt sophomore. So like guys like that are the type of guys that, Coach Ricker has been able to identify as talent before. So I trust that, these are guys that uh, can be challenging for a spot within the next couple of years or so, even though they're some of our lower rated guys, quote unquote. But yeah, so I'm excited about both of them.
Yeah. All right, kind of moving down to this quarterback situation and this kind of interesting, or this quarterback commit, and I talked about similar things with Jared. Kind of twofold here. I'm a little surprised, a little not surprised that your guys' quarterback pickup in this class is it, it doesn't have a higher star power, if you will. Not that star power is everything, but it is something. So, it's Kevin Henry Jennings out of South Oak Cliff, so it's a state champion QB
Mm-hmm.
now in Texas, and obviously you can't, your accolades in high school, don't mean anything once you get to college, obviously. So you can't rest on, oh, I'm a state champion QB. However, I mean, winning a state championship in Texas, being the quarterback, I mean, that's a pretty high honor here. And, I mean, there's probably some swagger and some confidence that's rightfully earned, once, getting to that ultimate goal in the high school ranks that he's probably going to come in with. And, nevertheless, still not the highest rated guy. I mean, I think his offer list consisted of, a lot of, I think, let me pull it up real quick, like Missouri State, Lamar, Sam Houston State, Commerce. I'm not sure if you guys were the only straight D1 school to offer or not, but
Yeah, only FBS school, I believe, and
yeah,
that's fine by me. I mean, we offered him and he committed like very shortly after.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, KHJ, love this guy. He's
yeah.
got such a live arm. He's somebody that like I'm so I'm I'm so excited about like 3 or 4 years down the line after, the Tanner Mordecais and the Preston Stones have gone to the NFL and have, played each other in the Super Bowl and,
Yeah.
assuming they get drafted by opposite conferences.
Mhm.
Um, but KHJ is just like he he really can sling the rock. He's somebody that so I've heard a story that this past summer he was working with a coach who trains a couple NFL wide receivers, and so they needed somebody to throw to, and the guy that usually throws to the wide receivers was either sick or was out or whatever. And so he just kind of like last second asked Kevin if he could like fill in, and all the NFL wide receivers wanted to know where he was playing D1 ball.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm still a high schooler." And they
Yeah.
like couldn't believe it. So that's the type of thing where like he's got a really good arm. One thing I've read online and I watched the state championship game to see if I could notice it. And I can't argue against it based on what I saw, but I don't necessarily know that I 100% agree with it. Is the system he was in was very one read. He tended to have just like he would look for one read. If it was open, great. If not, just take off.
Mhm.
And he was good enough to do that, and he was athletic enough to do that. And then obviously in college, you need to be able to go through your progressions a little bit more. Um, so that's something that I've been told he could work on, but I'm not going to, pretend to make that my own statement because I don't
Mhm.
know necessarily. I haven't seen enough to necessarily agree with that, but I haven't seen enough to disagree with it.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, he's somebody that I think like we needed quarterback depth as it is. Derek Green, son of Trent Green, transferred out after the fourth year at SMU. I don't know where he's going. I think he might be going to an FCS school just to, get some playing time. But yeah, we did need another scholarship quarterback because right now we've got two. We've got Tanner Mordecai and Preston Stone. So we needed another. And this is a guy, he's a winner. That's always important at the quarterback position. And he's got a live arm. So at the very least, if, knock on wood, but that hope this doesn't happen. But if Mordecai and Stone both go down, he's somebody that like you can win games with just on
Mhm.
that arm talent alone. So
Yeah. Don't want to spend too much time on this statement, so it's kind of real quick, but you said, 3 or 4 years down the road when, those two very, well-groomed quarterbacks you guys have above him are out the door. I mean, but do you think in today's world, quarterbacks are going to sit that long?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really. It's tough because you can't really assume a quarterback's going to leave because that's a loser's mentality. That's like, if you're a bad NFL team going into it saying, well, we're going to have the number one pick. Well, what's the point of even playing the games if you've already assumed you're going to have a number one pick? What's the
Yeah.
point of recruiting him if you've already assumed he's going to hop in the portal?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's becoming like a position on staffs is just like a retention guy, just like make sure you can do what you can do to keep guys on the team,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
a like full-time transfer portal analyst guy that is almost basically like how in the pros they have scouts at the pro level and the college level.
Mhm.
And like eventually we're going to get to that point. I think I wouldn't be surprised if teams are already doing it kind of on the down low.
Mhm.
So you can't really go in with that mindset of like, well, he's going to leave after 2 years, so let's get what we can out of him now. I think that's kind of a loser's mindset. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be unwise to do that.
Mhm. All right, kinda just real quick, Colin Rogers, kicker out of Alabama. I mean, you know,
He's unranked, but he's the
yeah,
fourth ranked kicker in the country according to Coles. He's
yeah.
somebody that I was surprised we landed kind of out of nowhere. He was another
Mhm.
guy with a couple weeks ago I was tipped off might be somebody that we would get, and then once again I started seeing on the forums a couple days later. Old CJ Sources has been
Mhm.
it was pretty consistent this cycle, with the exception of one or two guys. But he was somebody that he kicked a couple of 65 yarders in no wind, um, in in pads, or maybe not in pads, but like in those kicking camps. And so that's something, could always use a good kicker. And side note, he's 6'4". Our other scholarship kicker's 6'7". So we have the tallest. I mean, they could suit up for us on Saturday and then play
Yeah.
small forward for us on Sunday. So that's pretty exciting.
Yep, very cool. All right, moving down to the transfers. Joshua Moore, kind of interesting here. Obviously, he's transferring from Texas, but didn't he stop and have a cup of coffee with Texas Tech?
He
And
committed there, but he was finishing his degree up at UT.
oh, so he
So
never,
he never stepped foot at Tech. He
because
said that he
24/7 has him enrolled
Yeah,
January.
no, that's not true.
Okay, all right, that's what I was kind of
Yeah, I can
getting
tell you,
at.
I checked in on that. He's never been enrolled at Tech.
All right,
He
so
originally
he,
was committed to Tech and then flipped that. And the reason
yeah,
why he was able to flip that is because he was never enrolled at Tech.
hmm
He
and
was going to be
obviously
a summer edition.
with transfers, I don't think they sign anything. There's no LOI. I think it's just
No, they
your,
just show up,
yeah,
which I
man,
think
kind
that's
of.
going to change. For what it's worth, I think that's going to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because obviously it used to be transfers. Once you got a verbal commit, I guess you could say whatever you want to call it. It's like, okay, it's kind of a done deal. Like, but now we're seeing transfers flip their commitments, if you will. Before, it's just, it's
Mhm.
crazy, man. It's wild, wild west. But what's your thoughts on Moore? Do you think he comes in and starts?
I mean, I think he comes in and definitely, I think he, challenges for a starting spot. I
Hmm.
mean, we're losing Danny Gray and Reggie Robertson to the NFL
Hmm.
draft. And so that's something that we need to replace with talent, and Joshua Moore's got a lot of that. So I know that some people have been concerned in the past about what has happened either off the field or on the field on the sidelines. I know he got into it with Coach Sark during the game, I think against Baylor,
Hmm.
and that's just the type of thing where it's like sometimes it's going to happen. Maybe a change of scenery will help.
Hmm.
And like we are so deep at the wide receiver position, I look at this as like an entirely upside play. Like I'm very excited about him.
Hmm.
I think he definitely has the potential to come in and do a lot. I think he does. I think at the very least he's going to be seeing the field. And Rhett likes to, or Coach Lashley likes to cycle, a bunch of receivers. At
Hmm.
least 4 or 5. I think he's going to be on the 5 deep at wide receiver. So he's somebody that I definitely could see us
Yeah, for
playing
sure.
fast, so fast.
Yeah. All right, Cameron Allen, Michigan State tight end transfer. Real quick, did he play any football at Michigan State, or was he more of a he didn't really see the field too much and he's just transferring to play, or do you happen to know anything on that?
I don't think he saw the field too much.
Okay.
Um, he's a big question mark for me in this class.
Mhm.
Just in that, like I don't know a whole lot about him. I mean, thankfully his high school tape is only 1 year removed, so it's not like you go, well, he's
Mhm.
a completely new man now. He spent a few years in a weight program. Like he's pretty much still the same guy. He's probably he's put on a little bit of weight, and he's somebody that understands the day-to-day of being a college football player. So basically he still has a lot of the upside without a lot of the downside. Like how
Mhm.
he's going to handle adapting to college life, which sometimes with high school guys they have all the talent and potential and want to in the world, but there's just something about being in college that's harder for them.
Mhm.
But at the very least we know that Cam Allen knows what that's like. So he's
Yeah.
somebody that I see as completely upside. I mean, that's such a deep room. I don't know if he's going to play. I wouldn't hold my breath on him playing, but
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, CJ, kind of totally off topic. Do you hear any my dog is sleeping right beside me. He's snoring. Do you hear that through the mic?
I do not.
Okay, thank God. All right, we'll just move right along there. But yeah, his name is Angelo, a little bull terrier of mine. But yeah, he's snoring up a storm. Okay, so Shannon Reed, linebacker transferring from Louisville, and kind of same question. I mean, I'm assuming probably just didn't really get the playing time he wanted. He's just trying to look for potentially more playing time. Is that the story there?
So he's actually not from Louisville. Redbird, Yellow Beak, Illinois State, the Redbirds.
Oh, okay. Oh, so
I
FCS.
know, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it totally changes everything. So, all right, yeah. Let's go. I
So
love the
he,
FCS transfers.
so my understanding is he had a relationship with running backs coach or new running backs coach Keenan Hall,
Hmm.
and so I definitely think he can provide some immediate plug and play capability because that's a position that we're losing some depth on. So
Hmm.
definitely excited about him. He's gonna come in, I would assume, and play right away. I think he only has 1 year of eligibility, so he's
So he
really just
played
like a
meaningful
plug and play
football at
step in
Illinois.
for why am I blanking on his name? I can see his face. Richard Moore and then
Hmm.
Delano Robinson. Both of them are graduating, so he's somebody that can step in that Mike linebacker spot right away.
Okay. Do you know what his stats or was he like I mean was he like one of the
He was
main
pretty
players?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
So he
pretty good at
started.
Illinois State.
So
Yeah,
he's got
I
live game
believe so.
reps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he was even now I pulled up his profile. He started off at Tennessee
Hmm.
and then transfer. So this is his second transfer. So that's interesting, man. So that's that. We'll see how that pans out. But that's an interesting name to follow, Shannon Reed, just with his little transfer story. But his is a little bit different, becoming P5 FCS now back to you know FBS or whatever. But I am personally a fan of the FCS route. I like kind of getting guys that have played meaningful reps
Hmm.
and just kind of, I mean, Bailey Zappi was a blueprint of that. Not everyone's going to be Bailey Zappi, obviously, but or Stearns, his
Right.
receiver. But I mean, I kind of like that route a little bit more, I think, than getting a P5 guy who hasn't played in 2 or 3 years. But anywho, that'll be interesting. If nothing else, we see what he does. All right, so from Minnesota, right?
I've got you second guessing everything now
Yeah, I know, right? I'm
afterwards.
over here double checking my the little logos, but Jaquandis Burns, linebacker, and thoughts on him.
Yeah, didn't really play a whole lot in Minnesota. He's somebody that I think is another high upside pick. I think he only spent 1 year at Minnesota, didn't really play, and is now transferring. I don't even know if it's closer to home. I don't know a ton about him, um, but he's another guy that I think has a lot of potential at linebacker. He went to the IMG Academy, and he had some pretty nice offers coming out of high school. So a good pickup. He was in Minnesota for 2 years. Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, he had offers Minnesota, Colorado, Louisville, UT, Utah. I mean, that's a pretty solid offer sheet for a guy that's now going to be playing football for the SMU Mustangs. So,
Yeah, for sure. All right, and these next two that I'm gonna talk about, I mean, they're the only ones I believe on the list that have this trait that I'm mentioning. So their transfer ranking, if that's what that stands for, is the little T on 24/7, is higher than their high school ranking.
mhm.
So that's kind of good. You know what I mean? Well, it's definitely good. I mean, they've obviously done something to level themselves up, which kind of pauses for consideration. I wonder why they want to maybe just playing time. Maybe they're hoping more. I don't know. But so first, offensive tackle Joseph Biesinger, transferring from Virginia. And what are your thoughts there? I mean, was he the 1-2 deep? Is he looking to play more? Is he trying to get closer? Like,
I
they
think
haven't-
he could. I think he could play right away for
Mhm.
us. I think at the very least, he's somebody that can kind of slide around on the offensive line if we need him. But I think he can play right away at one of the tackle positions. Ideally, I want us to give that left tackle spot back to Jalen Thomas. I mean, he's been great as a left tackle. Then we kind of tinkered around with him, moving him inside, and I just don't think we got the same level of protection um, afterwards. Which I don't fault them for trying, but I think
Mhm.
Jalen Thomas should go back to being left tackle, but he could right away be a right tackle, or maybe he moves inside. I don't know,
Mhm.
but he actually followed our now strength coach Sean Griswold from UVA to SMU. That's the connection there,
Okay.
because he was getting playing time, I believe, at
Yeah.
Virginia. So
Very cool. And next is Bo Corrales, wide receiver, transferred from North Carolina. And both Bo and Joseph, they and it's so hard for these guys that work for 24/7 to rank these guys, whether it be high school or transfer ranks. But they're both kind of an 88 transfer ranking. I feel like with a transfer ranking, they kind of just slap numbers on there if they rank them. Just
Sometimes.
yeah. So just but nevertheless, I mean, they both these guys, the 82. Joseph was an 82 out of high school, and Bo was an 83 out of high school, and they both up their rankings. It's, however you want to take that, significantly in their college careers. So, what's Bo's story? Why is he transferring? And can you see him cracking in, in the wide receiver core pretty soon too?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to have to. This is his 6th year of college. So he spent the last 5 at UNC. In 2019, 40 receptions, 575 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's a pretty good clip for, a guy. I mean, North Carolina had so many good receivers that year. And then the year after, they had a few guys go to the league, I know. So that's something where, at least they had one guy go to the league. That's something where, that type of experience is good to replace, just like in the immediate, to replace Danny Gray and Reggie Robertson while the staff works on getting their guys, quote unquote, in. And that's where transfers can really help with, coaching turnover and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Bo's somebody that I'm excited about. I think he's another nothing but upside pick because I don't think there's a whole lot of downside because he only has 1 year of eligibility. He's shown that he can play at the highest level before. So I trust that he can come in, be a solid, somewhere in that 2 to 4 range for us as a receiver. Because obviously we have Rashee Rice, I think, without question, is going to be our 1. And then there's about like 6 guys I could hear an argument for being in that 2 through 5 role. And so, yeah, I mean, Bo's another guy that I think very well could be that guy.
Awesome. Well, all right. Same with Jared. We shot for 15 minutes. We're here about 41, and we're gonna have to save the Preston Stone and Tanner Mordecai conversation for maybe a little post spring, maybe pre spring. We'll see. So we'll save that pot stirring for another video. But like always, CJ, thanks for jumping on. Anything else we need to mention before we hop off here?
No, I mean, I guess, if you want to check out what I've got going on, if you heard me and were like, wow, that guy's not smug, he's quite humble. He's the type of guy that I respect his opinions. Then, you've got my socials right there underneath my face, which, I'm sure you noticed at this point. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the followers I can get. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I've got to say. It's always a blessing to get to do this. It's always fun to get to come on your show. We have a good time, and it's always good to catch up. So
yeah, we always do. And if they could always see the pre-tape conversations, I'm sure they would. The unedited version, they'd like that. But that's behind the scenes. So, but anyway, yeah, CJ, once again, thanks for jumping on, and we'll talk again soon. And best of luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you.